All right. Hey, this is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the 3Ds to Success, where we share stories of people using what I call the 3Ds to Success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have Dedrick L. Moone and Haelee P. Moone. Dedrick is the author of the memoir entitled The Unexpected Journey, Fire and Gold. He is a philanthropist, international motivational speaker, podcast host, and single father. He loves to see others be their best, so his life's mission is to create a positive and fun impact wherever he is allowed. His daughter, Haelee P. Moone, is the co-author. She is also the author of The Rules of a Big Boss, a book of self-love. It is a manual for young and adult women to maximize higher self-esteem. Haelee developed an accompanying clothing and accessory line in support of both books, with features on ABC 11 News, Spectrum 1 News, Fox 34 News, WBOC 16 News, television shows, print magazines, and podcasts. Haelee's message of empowerment spans across the globe. She resides in North Carolina with her dad, Dedrick, and their dog, Oreo. Welcome, Haelee and Dedrick.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great having you all on. And I'm going to say at the outset, thank you to Genesis for hooking us up, putting us together. She spoke highly of you all, and it's great having you on. And so I would like for you all to tell me your story of what I call the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination, and how you use the 3Ds to success to overcome obstacles and challenges in your life.
Okay, can you just repeat what the first one was? What the first D was?
Oh, determination. So it's determination determines destination.
Okay. So just a little bit of background before I go into that. When I was in I think I was in the second grade, second, third. So I was 7 years old and I was bullied, sexually assaulted, and she had also attempted to kill me. And the girl who was bullying me this severely was 6 years old. So she was a year younger than I was. So that caused me to be really depressed and defensive. And I was also suicidal, anxious, and I didn't trust really anything or anyone. So that's just a little bit of background. So over time, I wasn't bullied, but a lot of people did tend to pick on me, find new things to pick on, and that would cause me to find more things to be insecure about. Like people talk about me, and I would look in the mirror, I would say, no, I don't, and then I would see it, and then I would say, yes, I do, and then somebody would say my forehead, same thing. So I never noticed it until somebody had pointed it out to me. So that caused me to be really insecure, and I wasn't suicidal as the years went by, but I definitely was really insecure, and I was always super defensive. So anytime anybody would even get close to attacking me, I would immediately attack them as quick as I could. It was like a defense mechanism I used. So yeah. And I had gotten toxic myself and a lot of toxic people. So I'd say this was probably since I was 7 years old, all the way up until I was 12. So this all was over the course of 6 years.
Wow.
So all of this bullying, being made fun of, and toxicity was over the course of 6 years. So like I said, that caused me to be really insecure, and I was always doubting myself. And then anytime something would go wrong, it could be the littlest thing, I wouldn't get the last laptop and would have to share it with somebody. Literally, I'm dead serious. That's not just an example. I will get upset over something like that, and I'll say, well, maybe the reason why I have to share with somebody is because I'm not good enough to be by myself. And I would always find the littlest things to pick on myself about. So at this point, nobody really had to say anything to me because I already did it to myself. Um, did tend to so like in order for me to have gotten out of that, like depressive and emotional state, I had to like isolate myself from people. I had turned my messages off. Like I had turned it on mute. I wasn't really on social media except for like TikTok. That's like the only thing I was on because I can get a good laugh out of it. And then I read my Bible a lot and I just really focused on my religion and like furthering my relationship with God. So since I was more focused on that, I wasn't really thinking about like the insecurities and things like that. So I focused on what I knew would make me insecure. And like over the period of 2 weeks, I was like, okay, now it is finally time for me to like come out of my shell and um actually start to try and not be so insecure and so timid and things like that. So how I did that is kind of briefly in the book, but mm, yeah, it's in the book, but like a lot of the things that I did wasn't exactly in it, but most of it, like the big parts, was.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the biggest things that I did was I love to listen to music. And my dad would tell you that I listen to music 24/7. Like, you can't ever, you'll rarely catch me not listening to music unless I'm on social media or I'm watching a movie. That's all. Because other than that, I'll be listening to music. And while I would listen to that music, um, I would like get dressed. I would take my hair out of curlers or take my hair out of like the wrap and things like that. And I would just like get dressed and things like that. Like I would be going somewhere and I really wouldn't. I would just walk around my room and that's really all. So I would like pretend that it was just me and the music, like really nobody else around. It was just me. In reality, it was me. But that's like how I had to remember it. Like, because if I didn't think about just music or just being in a music video, if I didn't think about that, I would say, well, what if somebody were to walk in at a random moment? What if somebody was secretly watching me? So I would always find something to be paranoid about, which is also why I was like pretty and like just not really like out there out or outgoing whatsoever. So I had to like break out of the paranoia and just focusing on that moment and not focusing on the what ifs, because what you create in your mind isn't something that actually exists. It's something that you have perceived, and that is something that you're fearing that's in your mind. So since I wasn't fearing anything that was real, I had to keep reminding myself of that. So that did work. And then I had to avoid things that made me feel insecure. Like I had to unfollow a lot of accounts. I had to like scroll past videos or pictures that would make me feel some type of way. Focus on positivity. So I focused on the positivity, and anytime I would catch myself saying something negative about myself, I would say, nope, nope. And I would just like automatically recognize that I did it because I can't force myself not to say it. I would have to like recognize that I did say it and recognize the triggers. So anytime I would like catch myself saying something, I'll say, I did it then. Like maybe write it down, just keep it in the back of my mind. I would think about the trigger. So, for example, if I were to see like um, this dress that I saw on somebody that I really liked, and I was like, well, I don't have that dress. Maybe I don't have that dress because of this, that's that. And I would always like tie it back to me in some way. And then I would notice that and I would say, okay, so the trigger is like somebody else having something that I don't have. So focus on the things that I do have. And that is how I came up with like most of my resolutions and things like that. So I was determined to like be at least some type of confident, like even just a little bit, even just a little bit. So, yeah, so I did have a little bit of confidence, but the thing was, I was like faking it until I made it. So I acted like I was confident.
Mhm.
I acted like I was outgoing until it actually did happen. Like none of it was real whatsoever. Um, but maybe just a little bit was real, maybe just a little bit. But most of it was just something that I just like made up in my mind and made myself believe, even though it wasn't actually there. And eventually it just came to be just a part of my personality. And I much more prefer that rather than being like timid and not outgoing, because I still won't do things that would like embarrass me to the core, but I do things that would embarrass me. But like, for example, when my dad would be at the store and he'll be jumping up on carts and just like pretending to fly, or when he'll sing out in public, that is something I just cannot stand by and just like sing along with. I can't do it. I cannot. I have to walk away. So I'll just go to the other side of the store and act like I don't know him. And if he would come up, keep trying to be like, fuck, like I don't know who he is. And it's always worked. So yeah, I like removed my situation. And most times I'm the one embarrassing myself because my life is kind of just one big why did I do that moment.
Uh,
But you only live once. And I'm in my teenage years, so it's filled with that. And plus, I would rather have a story to tell rather than being like, well, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I wish I did that. So, yeah, that's
all right. Well, Haelee, you experienced a very traumatic situation at a very young age. And tell me what it was that really made you decide that you were not going to allow this situation to overtake you. You made a decision. You were determined. And where did that come from? Where do you think that decision to say I'm going to overcome this, whatever I have to do? As you said, as we say, you faked it till you make it. You felt the feelings first, and you allowed those feelings to manifest. Where did that come from for you to make that decision?
um I made this like it was over like a really like it was probably like the most stupid thing I ever said. I say things that are stupid, but this is like by far like the worst. So I had gotten into an argument with one of my ex best friends, and we had stopped being friends or something so small, and it was all because she said that she wanted to go back to her hometown because she didn't have any friends here. And I was like, after all of the support that I've given you through everything that you have been through and this, that, and the other, you still want to go back and you're saying you don't have any friends and things like that. So I just kind of felt like betrayed. So like that was kind of the last straw for me because I was tired of it. I was tired of like being the doormat to other people and just like letting people just like do whatever and just still sticking around because I don't want to hurt their feelings.
Mhm.
So that's really the only reason why I really stuck around with anyone. So I realized, okay, I need to stop doing that because it's just going to get progressively worse over time. So I'm just not going to do that or rewind. That. So that's when I decided it. And I think that it really like came from like within rather than situation wise. I think it really came from like me just focusing on religion and like that's like a really positive thing considering that I'm like Christian. So like I feel like I got like the strength from God. So that made me like realize within that I wanted to do better for myself. And another thing, which is also situation, is I realized like, well, like the energy that I put out can affect my family. It could affect them negatively. They could start thinking like I do, and I don't want that. So that's another reason.
All right. That's it's great that you've taken a very pragmatic approach to what you went through you know, you've thought about yourself, the triggers that you know trigger certain emotions, and you thought about how your actions can affect other people. Tell everybody how you've taken that and you've channeled it into the things that you're doing now, the things, you know, the rules of the big boss. Tell us more about that and the other things that you're doing that have, you know, you've taken that situation and you've channeled it into something very positive. Tell us about what you're doing.
Um, I took all that information and I put it all down into a journal. So the rules of a big boss, a book of self-love, started as a journal. So really it was just like a place for me to like put down my thoughts and things that helped me, something to just reflect on. That's really just what that was for. But it eventually transformed into a book after I shared it with my dad, and he's the one who told me that I should be. So I wasn't really planning on publishing it, but publishing it was a thought for me, but I wasn't planning on it.
Mhm.
So I thought about all the lessons that I've learned, and I was like, hey, well, maybe if I write it down and I publish it, then that could save a lot of other people from the things that I went through. And if it doesn't, well, at least I could say that they knew. So, like, my main goal was to share my experiences and help other people not have to go through it. And like the things that I'm doing now is this summer I'm gonna start working on the roles of a little boss, which is like more targeted towards kids who are maybe 5, 6 years old, around that age group. So like the younger kids are like put into like things that they can understand, and things that they can understand a little bit better, which I'm not probably not gonna be really good at because I don't know. Like so I would have to have my dad because I'm not really like good with talking with children like that. So talking with 5 and 6 year olds is kind of hard because you have to like send things and you have to be like like picture. You can't just like be all words. So it has to be one big picture for them to understand. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on, like gathering ideas for and things like that. And I'm also adding new stuff with you go to the
Okay. Audio is a little sketchy sometimes, but uh, the how did you come up with the title, "The Rules of the Big Boss"? That's a very unique title. I like that.
um okay, so the rules of that came like that kind of stemmed from Amber Rose's book called How That Word I Can. And in this one chapter, I can't remember what chapter, but in that one chapter, she had listed all of these different roles that she had followed in order to become like a model. Like, um, but to like get where she is today, that's the rules that she followed. And I was like, hey, the rules of like not copying her words, but like
Mhm.
her rules that she followed. I'm gonna put it in my own way, but I'm going to use the rules of. And then Big Boss, that came from an Instagram live. I was on this one girl's Instagram and she was on live and she has girl talks like every Wednesday and like
Mhm.
she allows us a chance to ask her questions. She would answer in the best way that she can in order to help people. And I was like, and she called herself a big boss. Like she was talking positively
Mhm.
and spreading information to everyone else. So yeah, called herself a big, like, big boss. So that's how.
Well, that's great. That's great. You know, you were able to take a bit of information that you got from something else and you turned it into something that you know that you created for yourself. You know, uh, you know, tell everybody how the role of social media, the good and bad part of it. You know, you experienced some things negative with social media, but also you've turned social media to your advantage. You know, with what you're doing. You know, tell us how social media is affecting people your age and how they can turn that into a positive. You know, for themselves, like you're doing.
I'll take that one. Uh, so the role of social media is it ties a lot to how people value themselves, and
Mhm.
it's teenagers and young children and adults too. And a lot of it is based off of how people see themselves. It's like how many likes they have, how many follows they have, and things of that nature. And unfortunately, right now, that's become more necessary now for people for their own self-esteem, and largely because we're stuck in the house. People can't get out like they used to. Said like you and I when we were younger, our Instagram was the first day of school, our fresh outfit, going up to the pencil sharpener and showing everybody.
Yeah.
And we would, we would intentionally break the pencil to walk up to the pencil sharpener so that we can sharpen our pencils and people can see I do shoes and whatever.
Uh,
At the new J's, I would keep getting up and keep getting up. But kids, it's all about the Instagram, the Snapchat, and things of that nature. So a lot of that validation comes from that, particularly given the fact that they're not sitting in school or whatever. And unfortunately, when you look at it from that perspective, social media is like anything. There's some goodness and there's some bad to it. And unfortunately, if you stay on it long enough, you will see the bad. And that bad comes in where you're not getting the type of comments or you're not getting the comments to validate you. You're not getting the likes that you want to validate you and things of that nature. And if you are someone who suffers from low self-esteem or whatever, it can be detrimental to you, especially when taken in large quantities and large doses or whatever. And from that perspective, it's like, okay, you have to find another outlet, and you have to find outlets of valuation and validation beyond social media. And Haelee gets into some of that, some of those things within her book. And one of the things that she talks about is like vibe sessions or whatever. And the biggest thing is you have to be able to speak life into your own self and
mhm.
see your own beauty. You shouldn't need someone to tell you, oh, that outfit looks fly or whatever. You look beautiful. Or your hair is laid. Girl, you should be able to go in the mirror and go look at yourself. Dude, you should be able to go in the bathroom after you get your fresh shape up and say the same thing to yourself. Oh, my edges look fresh. Now, mind you, of course, I'm bald, so I don't really have any hair, but the same premise still applies or whatever. So the big thing is, social media, as I said, it taken in large quantities, it can work to your detriment. Taking in small doses, it can absolutely be a booster. And unfortunately, with a lot of kids being at home and being online all day long due to online learning or whatever, most of them are plugged into social media and they see it as a tool of validation and valuation. And unfortunately, as I said, it takes away a lot of their self-esteem, particularly when they're not getting the feedback that they want.
yeah, yeah. It's as you said, our age group, I mean your age group, we grew up different in how we handle situations and our process of validation. When Haelee went through uh the situation, the abusive situation at a young age, and you saw this, what type of adjustments did you have to make as a father, uh, and how you handled it? Like I said, because of the different way with social media and the different social norms we have now. How did you have to adjust your way of parenting from what you knew growing up, from what you saw growing up?
That's an excellent question. Biggest thing I would say is I had to speak more life and positivity into her, and I had to handle her more or less with like kid gloves. So, just for example, I don't know. Let's say she stole some money out of my wallet or whatever. In general sense of things, I might have admonished her or spanked her or something to that effect. But given the fact that she was going through so much, I said, if something like that were to have occurred, I wouldn't have considered bad behavior. I would have considered it more just acting out and her crying out.
Mhm.
So instead of admonishing her and punishing her, it would have been an opportunity to talk to her. And, I would have handled things a lot. I would be less abrasive in my approach when it came to
Mhm.
disciplining her and things of that nature. As I said, I can't remember anything off the top of my head, but that's the general stance I took at things, having to constantly reassure her. And, as far as the love languages, speaking a lot of being very high in words of affirmation, that nature. and just, taking the tone down when it came towards things, and always letting her know, hey, you can talk to me about anything. You can let me know what's going on. And, and one of the things that I've told her is like, as long as you're in the right, I will flip the earth on its axis to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in the wrong, don't expect me to do the same thing. So, with respect to everything that she was going through, I absolutely did flip the earth on its axis. I flipped the entire state of Maryland on its axis, because what she was going through shouldn't have happened, and she was in the right respect to what she was doing. So I'm gonna say I became more of a I would say I became more of a softie, given her experiences or whatever.
Well, yeah, you I wouldn't say he was a softie. You understood that the parenting is different now.
Absolutely.
And like you said back in the day, you get a punch in the chest, or you get, you get the belt, or something like that.
Right.
And I hats off to you that you understood it's not like that anymore, and
Right.
that you have to adjust your style of parenting to the times and still be effective.
Absolutely.
And it, from what I can see and hear from Haelee, that you did an excellent job.
Thank you.
You know, as a matter of fact, tell us more about how these, the books and the TV appearance, how those came about, you know, from you all collaborating and the adjustment in your parenting and Haelee's uh, uh, understanding of how to deal with the situation. How did that all come about?
So, I want to say, so she published her book, uh, The Rules of a Big Boss. I'm sorry, she originally published it in June. I have to say that. And I want to say, and she was getting absolute rave reviews from the moment that it dropped and hit the streets. And I want to say in August or maybe September of 2020, Spectrum News was doing this thing called Voices of Change. And with Voices of Change, it was like, people in our communities that are doing great things, particularly with respect to like racism, bullying, and things of that nature. And I saw a clip and I said, man, listening to the stories, and I said, man, my daughter has a story that, fits right along with this. So I submitted the story to him. I called him up and I said, hey, look, I have a 13-year-old daughter. She's been through this and she's been through that. And this is what she's done with her experiences. Mm-hmm. And Spectrum News said, oh, my God, absolutely. The executive producer called us of Spectrum News. He wanted to talk to her. And he coached Haelee up and he said, when you come to this interview or whatever, this is how we're going. These are the type of questions that we're going to ask. This is what we're expecting, and so on and so forth. And he said, and I'm telling you this not just for this interview, but for future ones, because there will be more. Based off of your story, everyone is going to want to talk to you or whatever. So he came out, he sent one of the videographers out to our house or whatever, and he took like 30 minutes of footage and condensed it down to 2 minutes or whatever. And that just opened up the floodgates from there. And, once people started, seeing it, oh, I'm sorry. And that story played on rotation every hour on the hour for 24 hours. So once people saw that story, everybody started reaching out to her and she more or less became a celebrity through the telling of that story or whatever. And one of the things was the key question in that was what gives you hope for the future or whatever, or future generations or whatnot of children and people. So she touched on that. She talked about racism, talked about her book, her experiences with bullying, and so on and so forth. And the sky became the limit from there. So we started getting different requests for, additional appearances and things of that nature. And some of them, were just, hey, word of mouth, like with Genesis and yourself reaching out to us. And then others of them were solicited. But, that started it all with the Voices for Change. And I realized, once I saw that program, I said, this child or this girl actually, or this teen or my daughter really is a voice for change, not only in our local community, but across the state and across the nation. So fast forward from there, as the book at this point, it had been out for 4 months. Yeah, 4 months, because we're in October of 2020 now.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom, talking to her, we were at her house celebrating Haelee's birthday, my mom's birthday, and the dog's birthday. I have to say the dog because all of them are October babies. So Haelee's October 18th, my mom is October the 12th, and the dog is October the 12th too.
All right. Go ahead, Libras.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm one too.
when's your birthday?
The 4th.
Oh,
October.
So it's like we were talking to my mom. My mom said, you should tell the rest of the story because Haelee left a lot of the parts out about her experience with the bullying and things of that nature. And she said that you have a story to tell too, because your story is attached to Haelee's, but Haelee didn't really get into all of that in her book. And I said, yes, she didn't, because I didn't want her to. And that's a story that I was reserving for a later time, way down the road. And what I was saying to my mom, in essence, was that I was going to write an autobiography, and Haelee and I were going to do it together. But my mom said, instead of doing an autobiography, why don't you do a memoir? Because the memoir doesn't have to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
They cover a period of time, and the story that you guys are telling needs to be told, and it needs to be heard now. So I said, okay, I'll think about it. But then I talked to 1, 2, 3 other people, Genesis being one of them, and they said that I agree with your mom, and Genesis in particular. Well, when I read Genesis's book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace,
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a framework, a mental framework on how to frame and start setting up the story to tell the unexpected journey, Fire and Gold. Well, the naming, the subtitle was already in my head, Fire and Gold, because Haelee and I went through the fire like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and we are coming out as gold. And the essence of it was in, her writing The Rules of a Big Boss in June of 2020. So, played around with like the primary title for a little while. We went back and forth between the unexpected journey, the unlikely journey, and things of that nature. And we ended up going with it because, I was raised by a single parent.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that I would end up being a single parent myself and being a single parent of a daughter. So it's like, all of this is new to me. So it's unexpected and it's unlikely. We ended up going with the unexpected. Don't remember exactly why. But Haelee liked the unlikely journey. But we ended up going for unexpected. And we started writing it in November. And we debuted it in February of 2021. Whatever. But then we came back and we did a re-release of it on March the 5th because we wanted a hardcover collector's edition. A hard copy of a book lasts a lot longer than a soft copy.
Yeah.
And then after Haelee saw the hard copy of the book, she said she wanted one too. So I laughed. I said, okay, we can make it happen. So we went ahead and reformatted Haelee's book and turned it into a hardcover as well. I don't have a copy of that with me now because that book we just released it on March the 12th. But the hard copies of the books are actually in color. The paperbacks are in black and white. But that's where the nomenclature and everything came from. And I was like, this story doesn't exist without Haelee. I don't even exist as I am without her. So there was no way that I could write this book without Haelee's assistance. So she's the co-author. Chapter 5 in the book is pretty much all dedicated to her. But everything that's told in the story of the unexpected journey is centered around Haelee herself.
That's awesome, man. That's to see a father and daughter come together and collaborate like that, and tell you all stories, and what effect did that have on you all's relationship? What how what you already father and daughter, but doing something like that, how did that affect your relationship collaborating like that?
She's gonna lie and say I'm lying, but it's the truth. It brought us closer together, and I mean, she was a daddy's girl from jump, but
I'm looking at her.
She became a super daddy's girl through all of this, and it bonded ever closer. Like she says she's going to go away from college. I don't believe her. I think she's gonna stay home. And it just bonded us ever closer. So it's like if you could be level 10 was as close as you could be as daddy and daughter. I would say that we were probably at 8 or 9 before we started on this journey. But now I would say we're probably about a 12. And the bonding came through not only writing the books, but the design and the clothing and things of that nature, the messaging or whatever, the coming up with messages and slogans for the company. And the biggest thing though is not even so much the writing, it's been the vlogging. So our YouTube channel or whatever. So on our YouTube channel, we walk through this book and a lot of the activities that are associated with it. And initially, the plan was just that Haelee would be the personality on the channel, and maybe I would make an occasional appearance or whatever. But she more or less said that it's more fun when it's two and when I'm involved. So I ended up becoming the co-host of the YouTube channel. So the two of us end up going through the stuff together, and we laugh all the way through it. So it's fun bonding time over her book and the activities that are associated with it.
I'm looking at Haelee. She has me cracking up. She's being a teenager because, like you said, she's acting like you said, she's denying everything.
Say that.
Well, and that, man, that's awesome. I'm so happy to see how it went from this negative traumatic situation in the beginning and what it's morphed into, how you all through your faith and through your determination, you determined your own destination and have turned this thing into something so beautiful and something that positively impacts everyone. And I'm looking at them shirts. I got to pop them shirts out a little more so everybody can see what you have. As we're getting ready to wrap up. So tell everybody about what you have going on, the shirts, the clothing. Just tell everybody what you got going on.
Let me say that I'll let her talk about the clothing. Haelee, so sharing this, her book, is more or less made it across the United States somehow or the other. And, as I said, it all ties back to that interview with Spectrum News. A lady named Tracy Robinson runs this book club called, Words for the Soul Book Club. And she is having an event on April the 3rd called Featuring the Unknown. And with that event, she has 3 children that are authors, Haelee being one, another author that's 9, and another one that's 6. Kamaya is 6, and she did a book of affirmations, a coloring and activity book. The 9-year-old, his name escapes me right now, but his platform is called Popcorn and Books. And what she's doing is holding a virtual book fair for them on April the 3rd. And, the children are going to be on Zoom or whatever, like we're sitting here talking today. And they're going to talk about their books and do, a book reading and things of that nature. And what she's doing is through this, she is having a fundraiser. And she's asking people to make donations or whatever to this book club in this forum. And what she's going to do is use the money from that fundraiser to buy copies of each one of the authors' books, saying Haelee, Kamaya, and Popcorn and Books. Then what she's going to do is take that money and she's going to purchase those books and donate those books to underprivileged children throughout Detroit, Michigan. And the purpose of it is to help with their literacy or whatever, and try and help facilitate a love for reading. So she reached out to me several weeks ago and told me about the program and platform and what she was hoping to do, and was saying that she needed a 3rd kid, and she wanted to know would Haelee be willing to participate. And her being the oldest, she would be expecting her to be a mentor to the others. And I said, absolutely. I love the idea, love the concept. Where in the heck do I sign her up? And So that was a big thing. So it said, you know, it'll help the kids, saying Haelee and the other two get some more additional book deals, give them additional exposure. But, you know, it's not really even about that. It is truly about the literacy for these other children.
So that sounds awesome, man. That, you know, I just like the things that you all are involved in and how you have really impacted the world. You know, uh, you know, like I said, we're getting ready to wrap up. So just tell everybody, you know, website and you know, say the name of the books, the titles of the books again, and the clothing line.
Haelee.
The website www.thebookofselflove.com. We sell a variety of stuff, but just a little bit is tote bags, shoes, sweatshirts, and like that's all I'm gonna say. You have to look for the rest on the website. And then the books are called, mine that I wrote by myself is The Rules of a Big Boss, a book of self-love, and then the book that I co-authored is The Unexpected Journey, Fire and Gold.
And then as far as social media, we are on Instagram, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. It would be difficult for me to try to call out all those handles for you. The fact that our accounts are separate, but we still are tied. The easiest way to find Haelee is to just go to the business's website, and links to all of her pages are there. As far as me, I'm very easy to find. It's just DMoon78. DMoon78 on all forms of social media, with the exception of on Facebook. On Facebook, my author page is just my first and last name. But Haelee is a little different. The easiest way to find her is by going to her page. And, Haelee's the star of the show, not me. So it's best to just go to the website, follow her, and if you happen to find me, you happen to find me.
All right, that sounds great. It has been great having you all on. I love the father and daughter team, and Haelee had me laughing because he was just everything.
I'll go to New York for college. It's not negotiable.
Yeah, don't sit near.
Yeah. Hey, I'll look. I'm gonna check in. I'm gonna check in with you and see what exactly happens.
You're gonna be at a community college right up the street.
We'll see how that goes. All right, this is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, where we share stories of the 3Ds. Determination determines destination, and we have had Dedrick L. Moone and Haelee P. Moone on the show. The Rules of the Big Boss. It has been so awesome having you all on. And if you want to check out future episodes, check out my YouTube channel, The 3Ds to Success. Also, you can see you can listen to the podcast on Spotify and several other podcast directories. Check out my website, sidowsley.com, where you can pick up a free gift on how to align your goals with your values, which is very important. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Have a great day, and I'm out.
Thank you for having us.
All right.